California is in a historic drought. One city water supply is expected to deplete in 2 months. The engineer says local water districts don't have the ability to optimize their water systems.
The Golden State is becoming more of a dry state. The Washington Post reported that city officials of Fresno County's Coalinga expect their water supply to be depleted by the end of 2022. And as water levels recede from the drought, the U.S. Forest Service shared photos on Sunday of a World War II-era boat discovered at the bottom of Lake Shasta. In August, Governor Gavin Newsom announced a plan to tackle the state's expected water loss of 10% by 2040. One water expert commends the effort, though he said Californians expect more.
And we all as water managers are about the environment, about conservation, about being efficient in our water use.
Greg Thomas, who has a background in engineering, is a general manager with Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District in Southern California. Thomas tells California Insider host Siamak Karami about challenges with water management created from environmentalist extremists.
I think that overall the environmental special interest groups, a good portion of them want to balance. They do want to work, but I think like in any aspect of it, you know, whether it's water management or anywhere, you have that fringe element that's very extremist. And so I think that's the portion that tends to get a lot of the public media attention, et cetera, that does drive some of the decisions that are coming out of Sacramento.
The state plans to create storage space for up to 4 million acre-feet of water to capitalize on water surplus from big storms. But certain regulations to prevent animal extinction, he says, hampers the ability to manage the water system more efficiently.
For instance, there's only certain times you can pump water through the delta, the Bay Delta, based on the delta smelt or some other species aspect related to it. So when we have these big deluges of water, for instance in December we had so much rain and snow, we had massive amounts of rain, all that went out.
The water could have been pumped and placed into off-stream storage.
We really need some off-site storage. We need fix to the conveyance system, the delta tunnels. Definitely think and recognizing that water reuse, recycling our wastewater to drinking water standards.
The state plans to recycle at least 800,000 acre-feet of water per year by 2030, enabling use of wastewater being discharged to the ocean.
To watch the full program, find California Insider on YouTube or Epic TV on the Epic Times website. In other news, the California drought is pushing up food prices. A lack of rain and snow and a shrinking Colorado River have reduced the summer crops. Here's more.
California's historic drought has threatened crops, driving up prices on produce and putting another strain on budgets already stretched thin by inflation.
A tomato crop will take about 24 to 28 inches of water to grow the way we're doing it. And if we don't have that water, we just won't grow it.
Aaron Barcelos planted just a quarter of the 2,000 acres of his family's fourth-generation farm in Central California. This summer, he harvested tomatoes 2 weeks early to prevent further drought damage. He says this year's tomato crop is only 10 to 15% of what it would normally be.
Right now, we're in a field that we're harvesting probably 2 weeks early because the heat has just brought it on sooner, and these tomatoes are starting to go bad where they're not going to be usable if we don't get them off pretty soon.
Central California, an area known as the U.S. Salad Bowl, has suffered from a lack of rain and snow, and restricted water supplies from the Colorado River have withered summer crops like tomatoes and onions. Leafy greens grown in winter are also threatened, with no end in sight. The rise in food prices in 2022 helped drive U.S. inflation to its highest levels in 40 years. California's drought, on top of Hurricane Ian ravaging citrus and tomato crops in Florida, is likely to push food costs even higher. Our Greg Pruitt is a sales and energy manager at Ingomar Packing Company, a tomato product supplier.
As the crop gets shorter and shorter, there becomes times when you have to have conversations with customers about not being able to pack their entire volume. which is something that we very much like to avoid. But in situations like this, when you're dealing with Mother Nature and she doesn't cooperate, then sometimes those are tough conversations that you need to have.
The most recent drought in California began in 2020, worsening with the Central Valley's driest January and February in recorded history.
Medical professionals, detransitioners, and community members held a rally to raise awareness on gender-affirming care. That's as a national meeting was held last week on children's medical care. NTD's Jackie Reels was there.
The American Academy of Pediatrics National Conference and Exhibition is being held this year in Anaheim, California. With over 10,000 doctors attending, a group took the opportunity to come as well. The group consisted of people from all walks of life who had concern with the affirming gender model doctors are taking. They held the Do Not Harm rally at the convention on Saturday. 2 detransitioners spoke of their experience and why they would like the medical community to reconsider gender-affirming care.
I was a kid who was transitioning between the ages of 12 to 16. I was medically transitioning for 3 years, so I've come to realize that that by transitioning, I was adversely affecting my my health, both physically and mentally, and I was disrupting my natural development, and it was causing a lot of problems for myself, and I was making decisions that would affect my adulthood without realizing it. And so I think that transitioning is definitely not the path for children to be pursuing, and that's why I'm here.
I just want the AAP to look at what the current guidelines, take a step back and see what we can actually do to help people, because we are only harming them because we only give them one option and we don't look at other issues, because I know there's multiple different reasons why someone wants to transition.
Some of those reasons, according to the Society for Evidence-Based Gender Medicine, may be comorbid mental health issues and neurodevelopment conditions such as autism or ADHD.
I saw no transgender patients for the first 25 years of my career, and then recently I saw one and then another and another. I realized that every single kid I was sending to the gender clinic was being affirmed and transitioned. They weren't doing any sort of evaluation, and I'm like, I don't think that's good. That tells me that it's not a harmless pause, because 99% of 12-year-olds aren't sure what they're gonna be for Halloween. 12-year-olds change their minds all the time.
Governor Gavin Newsom recently signed a gender-affirming healthcare law. As a result, California will shield parents and children from other states' laws that rule gender transitioning as child abuse.
But puberty blockers, according to Reuters, they just wrote an article that was published, I think, yesterday. Puberty blockers can cost up to $45,000 for one child. And it has to be covered by insurance in most states. In California, it is required. That is a cash cow. $45,000 to insert puberty blockers into a kid's body, it's worth a lot of money.
These children need to be permitted to grow and go through natural puberty. They should have a chance to get comfortable in their developing bodies, but instead the medical community is pushing gender non-conforming children into having medical procedures. Many of these kids would just turn out to be gay. Instead, they are lifelong medical patients. Each patient gives the medical complex millions of dollars, and in exchange, they continue to have complications, difficulty finding romantic partners, and they will never have biological children. If the current rate of kids that are being transitioned continues, we're going to have a whole generation of sterile human beings.
Counter-protest groups dressed in full black garb disrupted the rally by chanting and blocking cameras with signs. Jackie Reels, NTD News, Anaheim.
The state started to send out the middle-class tax refund to taxpayers last week. The governor and some lawmakers say it's to relieve the inflation pressure.
The one-time middle-class tax refund started going into taxpayer accounts on October 7th. Payments are expected to be completed by January 15th, 2023. This is part of the $308 billion state budget signed by Governor Gavin Newsom in June. Newsom, along with Senate President Pro Tem Tony Atkins and Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon, issued a joint statement on the payments. They wrote, quote, California's budget addresses the state's most pressing needs and prioritizes getting dollars back into the pockets of millions of Californians who are grappling with global inflation and rising prices of everything from gas to groceries. The refunds are based on 2020 tax filing status and income. Direct deposits will be issued first. Debit cards will be mailed between October 25th through January 15th. To reach Californians who do not file taxes, the state will increase supplemental Social Security grants by about $39 per month for individuals and $100 for couples. But many retirees who receive Social Security from the federal government and do not file taxes will still be left out of the program. Under the $9.5 billion plan, more than 95% of taxpayers will receive the payments this fall. This is the second consecutive year Californians will pocket money directly from the state. Detailed information is on the California Franchise Tax Board website.
A gun rights group is taking issue with the Los Angeles Police Department's new concealed carry weapon permission policy. That's after a new fee has been added to the process.
A new Los Angeles Police Department policy that adds a $268 fee to obtain a concealed weapons permit has come under fire. Attorney Constantinos Moros, representing the California Rifle and Pistol Association, or CRPA, said the fee is quite high at $268. This compares to the $150 total the LA Sheriff's Department charges. It's not clear why LAPD feels it can charge so much more. None of the two fees covers the cost of the live scan or training class. Those may add up to $300 to the cost of obtaining a concealed weapons permit. Moros told the Epoch Times that we are looking at more than a $500 effective price tag to exercise a constitutional right if you are getting a permit from LAPD. The fee comes after the LAPD temporarily suspended the concealed carry permit application process. The pause followed the recent landmark Supreme Court case striking down a New York concealed carry law. On September 16th, the CRPA issued a pre-litigation letter to the LAPD demanding that it comply with the U.S. Supreme Court. One compliance measure would be to accept applications for permitting within 45 days. The letter to the LAPD accuses the department of having unclear processes on how to apply for permits. Endless wait times and the refusal to accept applications are among the list of grievances.